Alright folks, my name is Freyn and welcome to the M47. This has not been a tank I've had the most enthusiasm for while grinding it, mostly a combination of it being quite tall and not very good gun depression, but it's been alright in the end. There's been a lot of sort of average mid-level games, nothing truly exceptional, but I'm going to go over some of the better ones for you today. And to start with here, we are on Conquest Stalingrad. There's only one cap, and it's in the centre, so I'm going to head out towards my usual spot. It works fairly well for covering the B point, or where the B point normally is, and so it should do alright for here. But I am expecting the enemies to be coming slightly different directions because they don't have those additional caps to go for. So I'm not pushing quite as far, and again, this is a fairly tall vehicle and I'm going to be seen over that little mound I like to hide behind. But I have just seen something headed around the back there. Looked like a T-44-100, so mark that up for my team, let them know there's something coming. And there comes something else behind him as well. Object 906. Commander track. He's still able to fire, still able to turn his turret. And I've loaded straight into the APHE rounds, just in anticipation of either having a side shot or something, in this case at 906, with thinner armour that I can take out with that shell a bit better. Certainly for side shots, the APHE there is the superior shell. The AP, much better penetration, but far less damage, although still pretty reasonable considering. I've taken out quite a lot of leopards with it, whereas the APHE may have bounced off the frontal plate of a leopard. But we've got someone pushing onto the A-cap. I'm going to try and move up and see if I can give him a bit of support, although I want to do this carefully. Certainly don't want to be charging in there. And we can see an IS-6 and a Jagdpanther. I would like to shoot the Jagdpanther in the side while he's visible like that, but by the time I get into a gun depression position, he's out of my sight, so I'll take the IS-6 instead. Now, until I unlocked the APHE round, I had been finding the AP to bounce quite frequently off the side of that turret, but I know from past experience that the APHE does have enough pen for it, despite being lower than the AP. So I can't really explain that one, but certainly the APHE has been the more reliable for me with those kills. But I'm still a bit curious where this Jagdpanther's gone, so I'm not being very aggressive for now. I'm trying to hold my ground, keep an eye out, and there we go. It's peeked out. So we'll fire in the M82 shot there, and take him out in one. There's also a BTR who's just been firing around this corner. I know of him. Took out the charioteer. He's not really a threat to me, but he can mark me up, which will, you know, get me killed by other players instead. So wait for him to peek, and then take him out. And we don't have the cap, which obviously is something we need to eventually deal with. But in the meantime, the bigger problem is we're losing players. And losing them quite rapidly. We really need to work on thinning out those enemy numbers as best we can before we start making a push. Blindly pushing in when they're likely to have some around is not going to go very well for us. You know, I'm not in the best position to maneuver around. It's a good position to cover the cap, or to cover enemy advances, but I can't really move out of here and go on a flank. It's one of the downsides of this spot. So I'm just going to try and work my way slowly from cover to cover, thoroughly check the area, move up again, and see if I can't find any of these problem enemies. But then Tiger 2P is just taking out the STA behind me. So, a bit concerned. I don't know where he is, I just know he's nearby. I heard the shot. And I'm kind of thankful I made that little manoeuvre forwards, as it could have ended up being me instead there. We were very close together, me and the STA. He may have taken me out instead. He's now also taken out the Death Star that was off to my south, so I really don't know where he is, and it's starting to get concerning because he's killed everything around me. Now, we haven't been exceptionally low on tickets. We could have played this a bit patiently for a while, sat, see if the enemy makes the mistake of pushing into us, and then go from there. We do have a bit of time on our side. Even if we are bleeding tickets, it's not that quick. Unfortunately though, everyone has managed to die, and I'm now left alone. I found the Tiger 2, or rather, he's pushed past me and I've got a shot, so we'll take him out. Just turn around to look and see if I've got any sort of vision on what that marker was on the far side, but it turns out he's dead. But turning did give me a line of sight on that T-44, so that's another one down, and I'm managing to slowly make a dent in their numbers, but I am running out of time. I do have a couple of teammates respawning though, and I would really like to wait for them to get closer before I make the push in. Whether I've got the time or not, I don't know, and it turns out I don't. I held off as long as I thought was safe, and unfortunately just as I left the cover, a little Panther F turned up. I'm on my last APHE shell, so I wanted to wait and see if I would get a better angle before taking it. Figured that was the best I was going to get. Almost got the one shot there. His two whole crew were severely injured by it, but not enough for the actual kill, which has delayed me even further. And it's now or never. I don't have the option to wait anymore. I don't really think there's a right or wrong time to push. Had I pushed in earlier, I may have simply died earlier. I do often hold on a bit too long. I can't say for sure whether this was one of those times. I think ultimately here we were going to lose. We simply lost too many players too early on. And unfortunately now this Tiger 2H that I've been looking for ages, trying to avoid getting into his line of sight, which is very hard when you don't know where they are. But he does unfortunately have a line of sight on me. And that's me out. And game over. So we'll move on to game number 2. Very quick one here. Started recording a little late, unfortunately. Just pick off object 120 is heading across there in the northern part of Maginot Line there. We've already lost, well not lost, but we're already 2 caps down before I can make it to the B point, and I've just sort of looked at the map and thought, okay, I'm getting a bit far forward to be on my own here. They've taken B, that's something fast. It's going to be a Leopard or an IU. They're the only things I would expect in this quickly. And so I need a bit more caution. You can see now I at least have some more rounds unlocked. I've got the Heat Test shell, which will help me. Much better penetration, especially at long ranges, especially at angles. And it also provides hull break when I need it, so... And right now, I'd really like to get back towards some of my teammates if I can. Being alone around the B point is not really something I want to happen, especially, as said, I don't have great gun depression. But there's a T-34 out on the far ridge. And overshot him there with the Heat of S. So we'll change to the more appropriate shell here. Take him out with the APHE. Heat FS wouldn't have done anywhere near as much damage there, and the penetration wasn't needed, so it's important to sort of have the right shell for the job. But I'm going back to Heat FS after that one, because I don't know what the next target's going to be, and if in doubt, I want the shot with the highest penetration. It's nothing worse than having something with good armor appear and you having a low pen shell. But we found the guy who capped B. It's an RU-251. He has a Tiger II friend with him. And he obviously knows something's just happened to his little friend, so peek out, shoot a bit low, driver and transmission, going for his loader next, knowing that he's on reload. The loader will be actually more effective than taking out his gunner, something I need to do more often and frequently forget about. If they've just fired and it's got a an average reload, it doesn't really work for tier 1 where everything's firing every 3 seconds, but for this tier, taking out the loader will actually delay them a much longer time than taking out the gunner. But I've once again lost every teammate who is nearby, so it's just back and forth trying to deal with what is causing that problem. Well, if I can, which unfortunately I can't. So it's on to game number 3. This is Kursk. And I've already got an IU on the far ridge. Didn't manage to get the hull break, but I've got the important crew members, so he's not going anywhere. I'll just fire again. Hit the lower track underneath the tank, and somehow that caused the hull break. It's such an unreliable mechanic, honestly. It's not something I like to rely on, but it's still the best way of dealing with things like the IU. Overshot a little on this Jagdpanther. Not the greatest shooting. He was obviously closer than the IU. I shouldn't have ranged it the same. But we're moving up towards the B point and trying to get my eye onto whatever is down at A, as they overran that fairly quickly. Took out a few of our tanks down there, and it seems there's a couple of Tiger IIs. So we're swapping to the M82 again, get these side shots. Firing a little too low. Eventually we'll get there. We'll get the shells where they need to go. Just a little low still, and this wasn't my greatest game for ranging shots. I know rough ranges from one point to another, but obviously tanks are never quite in the same place. I'm never quite in the same place. It varies around, but yeah, you definitely, I think on the M47 you need a mixture of shells. Just bringing the Heat FS won't do. Just bringing the APHE, the MH2 shot won't do. Can't quite see this guy through the bushes, but I do now, thanks to that Tiger II, know the appropriate range. So we can use the sight distance control and binoculars to land that shot first time, thankfully. I don't want to be sat there firing 3 or 4 rounds again. It was a bit embarrassing. But let's move up. I think that's everything around the A point clear. Turns out it's not, but it's always worth a double check. And there we go again. Now that I've got the range down, it's a lot easier, a lot quicker to get rid of those tanks. But I've already been wrong once about there being nothing else down there, so I want to keep my eye out just in case. I am moving with my flank visible to the A point, of course. And just because we have one medium that's pushed past the cap doesn't mean it's safe. I obviously can't fully ignore the B point either for the same reason. Just because there's someone moved up doesn't mean it's safe. This is something I continually, well, not forget, but ignore, and I think, I've got players up there, they'll have cleared out anything that was in the way, and it's just not the case. I need to be more aware around myself at all times, regardless of the situation. Thinking you're safe is just a great way to die. Yeah, to be the opposite of safe. You're the least safe when your guard is down, regardless of any other situation. But time for a bit of tunnel visioning again here. There's a T-34 taking on what appears to be two Tiger IIs down there. I've underranged it again, but seeing that that one's now facing his front to me, I figured I'd go for the second and try help him out. Just as he killed it, unfortunately, so a bit of a wasted shot, and I might have been able to actually do some damage to this one while he was spinning his turret. I'm just unfortunately clipping him just in all the wrong places right now. He keeps backing up and sort of twitching backwards and forwards just as I fire. It's not ideal, but there's nothing I can do about it, so we've just got to wait for him to get on the right angle before I fire. There we are, transmission's down, cannon breech is down, he's not going anywhere. I've got the range in, and I can finish him off. It's not been a game where I've needed a lot of heat FS, fortunately. I've been able to mostly fire the APHE more rounds than I'd like.
Captured, we have the advantage.
But I was able to pick up a good number of kills. As said early on, not really any truly exciting games in this tank. I found it doesn't have the properties to really make for some very exciting gameplay. I feel its frontal armor can be a little trolly on the upper plate. You might bounce a few shots that you don't expect, but certainly not enough that I expect to be charging in and bullying hordes of tanks or even lower tier tanks. It's just not going to work out very well, so it hasn't really thrown out any truly amazing games. But we come to the last clip now, and probably in some ways one of the games I'm even most ashamed of that I've played recently, despite it being a good result in the end. I came out here initially wanting to play the flanks. This is a map that I am far from a fan of, and as I said, it's not really a tank that I want to take into close quarters if I can avoid it, especially in a full up tier. But then I saw this T10M firing from the corner of the map, and okay, he's not really hurting anyone, but if I try and push out to join my team in the town at any point, he will become a problem. And this is why I'm kind of ashamed of this game. I don't like going this close to the edge of the map. I don't like being that guy. But it was the only way to deal with this T10. So we're just slowly working our way along these south ridges, taking shots at anything I can see on the way, but mostly just trying to keep my eye out for this T10. Try and deal with him. Killing other targets is obviously going to be useful, so if I get the opportunity I'm going to get rid of them, stop them going back into the town. Where there's been a bit of back and forth. We did have all three caps before, and we've since lost one of them and a couple of players. But there's a big horde of ZSUs that keeps pouring out of that spawn, and with me having heat FS I can hull break them. I get rid of them before they get in and cause too much damage. That town and urban environment is absolutely fantastic for them. They've got a good turret rotation and they can obliterate a tank so quickly before it can react. Getting rid of them was very useful. I just don't like doing it from all the way out here. It feels so scummy. And I normally wouldn't come this far south. I'd be just to the south of the sea point. But this T10M is still lurking, and I still can't leave him alone. Unfortunately, my hunt for him has meant I'm not really helping elsewhere. And while we are very close to the victory in terms of tickets, the game is getting worse. We are losing players, and I really could have made a difference in town had I gone there earlier. I was very lucky that it ultimately didn't cost the team, and even luckier that the T10 didn't kill me there, because he's backed off completely as far as possible into that corner. I didn't realise he'd backed off into that corner. He was tucked in as far as he could get without really being kicked off the map. But now he's finally down and I can come and properly join in the battle again. So let's start with the C point, shall we? This game has been all over the place and I've not really been a part of it. We've gone from owning all 3 caps to owning none of the caps. I'm gonna try and better late than never, but still not really ideally this late. I'm gonna try and pull my weight back and see if I can make a good dent in the enemy team. So that's T62 down, so ZSU down, and it's allowed someone to make it onto the C point unhindered. Let's get in there and put my tank to good use. Most of the enemies at this stage are a bit smaller. They're in, you know, sort of the last dregs of their lineups. I should be able to throw my weight around a little bit, at least, finally. And maybe I can redeem myself for the earlier avoidance of battle. This really, I don't know, it's been a very mixed bag as this tank. I've had some good games, but I've never really had any enjoyment. It was just sort of average all the way through. And we're just about coming up to the end now. I'm thankful to say that we do win this. So many ZSUs. But yes, I will leave it there for today. As always, thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry this hasn't been the most entertaining of videos, a bit fillerish. But hopefully I will still see you in the next one.